The London Gem and Mineral Show is back, taking place at Sandown Park Racecourse on Saturday the 23rd and Sunday the 24th of November. Experience the best of the crystal, mineral and fossil industry as we gather the finest specimens over 2 unforgettable days. You can discover hands-on workshops and activities, crack open your own geodes and delve into talks from the industry experts. And not forgetting that the Opal Whisperers from the Discovery Channel are back, coming all the way from Australia with some show-exclusive pieces in tow. So what are you waiting for? Join us for an immersive journey at the London Gem and Mineral Show, where traders and enthusiasts alike are invited to discover the Earth's natural treasures all under one roof. Book now at thegemandmineralshow.com or follow us on Instagram at The Gem and Mineral Show. We'll see you there. Want to discover London like never before? Step beyond the surface with WOW Tours. Explore the city's hidden spiritual secrets, walk ancient ley lines and uncover the mysteries of London's past, present and future. Brought to you by Wisdom on Wellness and led by renowned crystal author and Akashic Records reader Gemma Petherbridge, these are more than just tours. They're journeys into the heart of London's esoteric history. Book your spot today and see London through a whole new lens. Visit wowtourslondon.com for tickets. Hello and welcome back to the Wow Talks podcast. In today's episode, our host Sarah Lamptey sat down at WowFest this year with a lovely Hannah Barrett. Now, Hannah is an international yoga teacher, a best-selling author, and the creator of the top-rated app Yoga Happy. Now, Hannah's journey into yoga began after the traumatic birth of her daughter, which was a life-changing experience that helped her to rediscover who she was and to find her true purpose. And the transformative effect that yoga had on her recovery inspired Hannah to share its healing power with others, helping people to find strength, balance, and calm in the midst of life's chaos. So we hope you enjoy, and let's dive right in.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us here at the Well Talks Barn. There is so much going on in the rest of the site, so the fact that you're here is very special and very appreciated. I'm Sarah Lamptey. I was a host yesterday. I'm also hosting the great conversations with guests such as Hannah today, and we're sponsored by the Jasper Cacao Project. I'll be interviewing Shane from Jasper Cacao later on. But yeah, we're gonna talk about everything to do with yoga, but a bit about your story in the next half an hour. So thank you so much for being here, Hannah.
Thank you for having me.
And when I was researching you, it's clear that you've always been so active. And I think there was at one point in your life where you thought yoga absolutely wasn't for you. Why did you come to that idea? And then how did you sort of push through it?
Yeah, okay. So I am now a yoga teacher, but my background was actually maths, and I was an actuary for 10 years. So I worked in finance in a very stressful, fast-paced world. And I like to do fast-paced, stressful things. So I love the gym. I was obsessed with the gym and would do it daily. And I would do kind of yoga once every, say, 2 weeks or whatever, but it felt like it was enough for me. And then I suddenly realized that I was living life so stressed. I wasn't very resilient. And I thought, I was getting married and we were thinking of having children very quickly, and I just thought, I can't live like this anymore. So I started a daily yoga practice from that point, because it connected me to my breath, to my body. It made me feel stronger in a way that I hadn't had, and I mean, the rest is history.
What drew you to that busy pace of life? What was so kind of appealing about it?
I think it's just my personality type. I like to always be doing and going, and actually just pausing and being, I felt very tricky, and sometimes find it tricky now. And I suppose I always thought when I grew up that to be successful was to, have these big powered jobs in corporates. And I've kind of over the years realized that isn't my version of success anymore. That doesn't mean success for me.
There's this idea touted that productivity is king and you need to be doing a million things at once. But then, of course, there's also the idea that we need to take it slow and be in the moment. And there are so many contrasting ideas going on all the time. And I think to find your way through it and to realize that wasn't serving you, that stressful life in finance. But do you miss any part of that life? Because your life now is so different.
Yeah, it's this idea, isn't it, that busyness is a badge of honor. Like if you're not busy, then you're not doing well. But I did really love my job. I worked I did lots of projects. I quite like the project work. However, when you look back on things and you've got rose-tinted glasses, and now I think about what I do now, and I'm like, actually, I love everything I do. Whereas before, I loved parts of it, but I love everything I do now.
When I interview people that have been in the finance world, it doesn't seem like there is any alternative to the full-on hecticness. I mean, is there an alternative, do you think? Could one do that role without it being so supremely stressful? Is there a world in which that could be?
I hope in future there will be. I think it's really hard. I think it's, I don't know if I can say this, but I think it's actually hard as women as well, because being an actuary, used to be very, very male dominated. And it's changing now, which is amazing. But you always were, trying to prove yourself, like, I can do this as well as you. And I think when you have children, it's even harder, because you are trying to juggle childcare and work. And I didn't actually go back. And I think now, I don't think I would have struggled to go back and been able to do, because, when we were on a project, you would work until 11 o'clock at night. And how could you do that when you have children at home? Well, you can, but yeah, everything shifted, and I just thought, I'm not happy doing this anymore. I need to make a change, and I need to make a big one. And I did a whole 180.
So was it that you got pregnant and then didn't go back once you'd had your child? Yeah.
Yeah. So
Did you plan to go back?
Yeah. So we had a honeymoon baby. I did plan to go back. That's not her big brother. And I planned to go back, and I went back for a few days, like those kind of keeping in touch days. And then I was just like, I just don't want to do this. I want to change. And I wanted to do something, and I had completely fallen in love with yoga, and it had helped me before pregnancy, through pregnancy, after pregnancy. And I just thought, let me share this. And it first became like a passion to help other mothers. And then since then, it's kind of grown to be so much more.
Absolutely. Do you think it's got a bit of an exclusive aspect to it, yoga, still? There definitely has historically, but what do you think nowadays?
Oh, I think it does still. I think lots of people are really actively trying to change it, to make it more accessible, so people feel like it's not this, cliquey group that they can't be part of. I think it's tricky to do, but I think people are doing a good job, and I think we just need to spread the word more.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was reading about the birth and the start to your daughter's life, that must have been incredibly scary. How do you look back on that period of your life now? Or do you try not to?
Okay, so my daughter is over there, Amelie. Do you want to give her a wave?
Hello.
And when I was pregnant with Amelie, I had a very, very high-risk pregnancy. And then when she was born, she was very sick. So she went into NICU. She was premature. She was 4 pounds, and she was very, very sick. Sepsis, jaundice, couldn't breathe properly, couldn't eat properly. Like, there were all these issues with her, and it was very touch and go for the first week of her life. And it was, I wonder if anyone here has had a NICU baby. We knew that it probably was going to happen, but we didn't know what it meant. And you can never prepare yourself for that moment. And yoga really helped me get through it, helped me stay present in that moment, because what had happened on the lead up to her birth was very, very scary. And, when you're thinking about what could have happened and think thoughts for the future, that was incredibly scary too. I mean, we had the doctors saying there were issues with her brain at one point, there was issues with her heart. She's fine now. She's absolutely fine. You good? But it was a really scary time. And yoga really helped me, but it's worth saying that I did have therapy as well. That helped me in conjunction with each other. They just helped me get through a very, very dark time. And it was actually about 4 months after she was born and she was okay and she was home and all that kind of thing, that it all hit me. And it's difficult in that situation, because we got to walk away out of the hospital with our baby, and lots of people didn't. So the fact that we did, I kind of was like, okay, well, I can't, that shouldn't have affected me. We're so lucky. I'm so grateful I've got her. But actually it was a very, very traumatic experience, and I needed to deal with that. And yeah, being on my mat just felt like home, and a place where I could kind of shut out all the noise and just, figure stuff out. and journaling and things like that. Lots of things helped me in that moment, but it was tough. And looking back now is easier. For a long time, it was very, very hard looking back, but now it's easier.
Yeah, it must have been incredibly, well, just hugely traumatic, but such a shock and a shock to your system also to see all these other mothers and fathers going through something similar and not having the outcome that you had, and a mixture of gratitude, but also the fact that you went through it in the first place. You know, you're being grateful for obviously the best outcome, but actually what you went through was really hard. It must have been a lot of emotion all at once.
A lot of emotion all at once, yeah.
I was going to say, what role did yoga play in getting you through it? When did you go back to the mat?
Very quickly, probably too quickly looking back now. I mean, probably like within a week or so, but probably too quickly, but I just felt like I needed something. I needed something to kind of hang on to. But funnily enough, Emily has always been on the mat with me, and I've got videos of us doing yoga from like her being like a couple of months old. She always was around the mat, and it was so lovely. And now she does sometimes actually join me on the yoga mat, which is amazing.
I was going to ask about whether she does yoga with you, and if that must be the most special experience to be able to share that, knowing that it got you through. Though. Oh yeah.
She does not prefer my yoga. She prefers Cosmic Kids, Jamie's yoga. And she'll do my yoga for about 5 minutes, and then she'll be like, can we do Jamie now?
Okay, let's talk about your yoga then. Talk to me. We'll do a comparison afterwards. Talk to me about the yoga that you are most drawn to.
So it used to be like going from my actuary days, I was really drawn to power yoga and vinyasa, and I still love that so much. But I think I've realized over the years, having 2 children, that I don't need that all the time. So I do love sometimes just a really restorative practice. What got me through COVID was meditation. And I'd always had a meditation practice, but I upped it during COVID because I was so anxious to about 40 minutes a day. So I do 2 lots of 20, and that really helped me. And my non-negotiable of my yoga practice is actually my meditation practice now, which is strange rather than being on the mat. And I love being on the mat, but I love my meditation, and that has to stay. And then I do breath work every day as well.
What made you so anxious around that time?
Because I got COVID just before the lockdown, and I got it really badly. And I just thought, the thought of our parents getting it, and, yeah.
It was, I think we can all look back on that time, and hopefully most of us, all of us, were sort of unscathed, and our families were okay. But there was one time where I think most of us thought, oh my God, how is this going to go? You almost felt like you were going to know a few people that wouldn't have made it that time. And it looks back like just a nightmare, but almost like it had never happened.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know. I used to cross people in the street and go around people and not breathe in their air. And there was the conversations around the masks, and it was so intense, and there was nothing that could have prepared us for that.
So I went out for a walk, one of our 30-minute allows, whatever it was, with my son, and he was on a scooter, and I had one of our dogs at the time, and we got attacked by a dog. My dog got attacked by him, and I was trying to save the dog, and then the Jack was there, and then these people were coming towards us, this couple, and and the dog was on its own. It didn't have an owner, or the owner walked off actually. But anyway, this couple, I said, "Can you help me? Can you help my son?" So we crossed the road. We got away from the dog. Someone tracked the dog, and then the lady turned to me and she said, "I'm so sorry, I touched your son." And I was like, when your first thought going, okay, yeah, of course. And then I thought, oh God, because of COVID, like we can't touch each other anymore. It's a nightmare looking back on it, isn't it? But, I always think, thank goodness that it didn't affect many children.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think,
absolutely. Yeah. But, and thank God that everything was okay with that dog.
I mean, yeah.
That's enough to make you anxious. That's enough to make anyone anxious. When thinking about worrying about the past or the future, how do you manage that element? Because that's something that I think we all probably struggle with, worries about the past, worries about the future.
Absolutely. I think it's fair to say that nothing in life is a magic fix. And I'm sitting here going, I love yoga, it helps me massively, but I still get anxious sometimes. I still worry about things in the future and, ruminate on the past. But the reason why I love yoga is because it gives you these tools to help you in those situations. So whether it is I'm feeling the anxiety creep up, and then I know I'm just going to, first thing in the morning, I'm going to have a longer meditation or whatever it is, or I'm going to do some breath work, or, everyone's lost their shoes before school in the morning and you're about to pull your hair out and you just go, okay, right, I'm going to take a couple of deep breaths and I'm going to feel better, or you're in the car and whatever it is, it just gives you those tools to make you more resilient. People, it's a shame because people market it nowadays as it's going to solve everything, it's going to cure your depression and all this kind of thing, and it isn't. For some people, they need more, and that's okay, but it does teach you a bunch of things that will make you calmer and stronger and more resilient in life.
And so you would recommend it to absolutely everyone?
Everyone, even people who can't walk. You can do chair yoga. There's something in yoga for everyone. And if you're sitting there thinking, well, I can't touch my toes, I'm not flexible, then
that's me.
Is it? Okay, well then it's for you. Like, it's for everyone. Every single pose can be modified in any way.
I think this is the thing. I don't know if anyone here has had sort of negative experiences in some yoga classes, but I've definitely found a couple of teachers, oh, you're only this age and you can't touch your toes or something. I mean, you can hold on to that judgment. And I think especially in an area where you wouldn't really expect it. And especially, I think when you can see people twice your age, bending over like this, I mean, do you think there is an element of competition when it comes to ability in terms of suppleness? And
yes, so I do. There's a lot of judgment in the yoga world, which is ironic because it should be this all-inclusive practice that's for everyone. But and I actually didn't have great experiences in studios to start with, and my nieces were just asking me this, and like, how did I start? And actually, I did it as a self-practice at home, and I had books, and I had this really like basic yoga app, probably one of the first yoga apps, and I just did it myself. I think there's a lot of hypermobile people in the yoga world. Hypermobile basically means you're super bendy, and that means that it looks like you can do the poses incredibly, and it's glamorized. And you're next to someone and you're like, oh my god, they are just doing an oversplit, and I'm like up here and I'm feeling the stretch. It's so much more than that. It's not about doing the splits or doing a handstand. It's like it's just a way of life. It's living life better, and you don't roll up your mat at the end of the class and that's you done. You take your yoga practice off the mat. It teaches you kindness. It teaches you truthfulness, compassion. All of these things. There are so many elements of it. It isn't just an exercise program. That's not what it was ever meant to be. And unfortunately, in the West, that's what it's perceived to be. So we just need to do a better job of spreading the word that it's not about what you look like. It's about how it feels for you. And what do you need from the practice today? Do you need to be practicing your handstands, or do you need to actually just grab a pillow and take a shavasana and just take a pause and tune in?
So it sounds like a lot of that is to do with the teacher, I suppose, and the teaching style, would you say? And there is a real I don't know if I put words in your mouth, but it feels as though there's a real responsibility to ensure that that what you've just said is passed on.
Absolutely. And so if anyone here has been to a yoga class and they're like, oh, I had a really bad experience, go to a different style, go to a different teacher, just try a few out, because you will find something for you. It just might take you a couple of goes.
Yeah, I think that's so important not to be put off. It really is, because I think most of us, we imagine negative. We can remember negative experiences very clearly, very vividly. The smell of the room and how you felt, and maybe you should just sit on the pillow, the box. Maybe you could do with that. And you think, I thought I was doing well. Of course, and there's the natural tendency to sort of compare yourself, and of course that's taking you away from the stillness and the focus. It's not to be dissuaded and to keep trying. Keep trying and finding the way that suits you. And I think that relates to meditation as well.
Yes.
And meditation, and of course therapy. I suppose that relates to the whole wellness space, actually, because there's so many different avenues. What form of meditation is the most powerful for you?
Oh, okay. It probably changes, but the one I go back to and do daily is a mantra-based meditation. So I was trained in something called Bija, which is really similar to transcendental, and you effectively get given a mantra that's my mantra, not anyone else's mantra, and you do like a little kind of grounding. It's like unguided. I just always set a timer. Actually, I don't even set a timer anymore. I just kind of know when the time is up, but you do a little grounding and then you just meditate on your mantra. So you maybe inhale, say your mantra inwardly, exhale, say it inwardly, or whatever it is. And it's like, it's your point of focus. So it grounds you. So, when your thoughts run away, you just come back to your mantra. But I have, like my students, I find it's people love a breathing meditation, people love the body scan, which I love both of those as well. If you're sitting there going, I hate sitting still, then you can do a walking meditation. There are so many different types of meditation. But in this fast-paced, busy world, I would recommend it for every single person in this room because it will help you feel better, in short of it. And one thing I'd ask you, what do you do first thing in the morning? Like, what do you do when you wake up? Because for a long time, I would grab my phone and I'd look at my phone. I'd be answering emails. I'd be on social media. And that doesn't set you up for the best day possible. And just by like taking a moment, taking even 5-minute meditation, or maybe it's breath work, or maybe you do some gentle movement, that is setting you up for your day so much better.
Yeah, I just was thinking about yesterday, somebody spoke about their phone and the relationship with the phone and the sort of conflict that we feel when we don't want it to be king, but then we do recognize that in some aspects it's helpful. And of course, social media is a real sort of pertinent example of that. And I asked everyone sort of how many people have their phones as their alarm clock, and pretty much everyone put their hands up. And of course, that's for almost everyone. And that was the first thing that you're looking at in the morning then is your phone with the news that's happened throughout the night.
Yeah.
How are you possibly able to absorb all of that, and should you absorb all of that? Probably not first thing in the morning. Can we cope with all of that information?
I think the reality is we don't need to. We can have, even if it is just 10 minutes, we are all, me included, like joined at the hip with our phones. Like yoga teaches us mindfulness, and it's that pause of going, when you pick up your phone to check your email or whatever it is, going, do I actually need this, or is this just a habit? And most of the time it is just a habit for me anyway.
Absolutely. So you launched your app in 2020. Was that in response to the pandemic and not being able to sort of do yoga as you were you were previously?
Funnily enough, no. So I was in talks with my app company for about a year, so back in 2019, and I wish I'd had it out for the pandemic because it came out in October. But I'm a perfectionist, so I was waiting to have like all my challenges and everything on there. But it was still good timing, and it's I've loved being online and connecting with people over the world. Like during the pandemic, I did live classes, and you'd have people from America joining you at 6 a.m. You'd have like people in Malaysia who it was nighttime for them. It was so nice to connect.
And what form does the app take? And how do you have subscribers, or how does it work?
So it's called Yoga Happy. My whole brand is Yoga Happy. I've got a book, Yoga Happy, as well. I've got another book coming out actually at the end of this year called the Yoga Happy Year. But you can download it on the App Store, Android, and it's got me doing loads of classes. I think we've got over 500 classes now, different challenges. But I have other people on it as well. So I have physios on it. I've got bar. I've got Pilates. I've got yoga teachers that I love. Yeah,
so fantastic. Talk to me about those books then. So what did you focus on in the first book, and then how was the second one a remove from that, or an evolution from that?
Okay, so Yoga Happy was a book that I wanted at the beginning of my yoga journey that gave me a whistle-stop tour of yoga in a digestible way. Because I don't know if anyone here resonates with this, but I had been to so many yoga classes where they were teaching the philosophy and the bits of yoga, and I just went over my head. Like all these words, I didn't understand what they meant, and I found it really indigestible. So I wanted to make something that was digestible. So it's got yoga flows, of course, but it has like breathing, it's got meditation, it talks about journaling, and then it's got a bit about the philosophy and what it actually means and how we can bring it into our daily lives. So that came out in 2022, I think. And this current book is called the Yoga Happy Year. And this is a year of yoga. So it's like month 1 to month 12. You can pick it up whenever you want. The cool thing about it is you can, you're going to be able to scan a QR code. So the flows in the book, it's the flow each month. You can actually flow with me. So it's like a book, but also you can flow on screen with me. And again, each month I'm teaching you a little bit more about yoga and what actually it is and how you can apply it to life. There's like self-reflection, journal questions. There's a new breathing technique, a new meditation. So you're just building on or building up your kind of toolkit each month by month.
That's so brilliant, and keeping you motivated at the same time, knowing that I suppose it's manageable chunks, especially if you're a beginner. I think that's so brilliant. Or does it have different levels?
You could pick it up as a beginner. You could pick it up as someone who is just really wants to know a bit more about yoga. But when we created both books, we really wanted, I was like, I don't want it to be pictures of me doing these yoga flows, because it's just, it just doesn't make it accessible. So we have this incredible illustrator, and she's called Eleanor, and she's created all these characters for us, and different bodies, different genders, different sizes.
So good.
Like,
I love that idea.
Doing the flows. And then for this new book, we invited, like, there are 4 people we basically invited so I could teach them yoga and we could take some photos for it. So I'd love the feeling when you open this book for you to think, oh my gosh, I could do this. Like, I could actually do what they're doing there. And we include all modifications and stuff like that. So you've got someone sitting on a pillow, or you've got someone with their hand on a block in triangle pose. Like, it was my husband actually as one of the bodies that we had for the photo shoot, and he's so inflexible. And I was like, it's so great because you can see how inflexible he is, but he's still doing it, and he's doing yoga, and it doesn't mean he's not doing yoga.
And actually, you never see examples of people that maybe aren't so flexible doing it. You just don't see it.
No, he can't touch his toes, but that's okay.
So constantly in the images that we consume of yoga, you're seeing someone who is super, super bendy, and whether or not you're conscious of it, I think if you can compare yourself and think, oh, never, I won't be able to do that. So straight away, you've got this sort of preconception that maybe you're a bit less than or not as good as this person that's doing it.
Exactly.
How do you work out when the time is right for you to teach? Because it's a constant practice, and you've spoken a bit about that, and it is a constant practice, and you go through moments of sort of anxiety, like, and how do you work out that, okay, now is the time where I can put this out and help people?
Okay, that is like the $1 million question. So I actually launched my teacher training school this year with a friend of mine called Celeste. And so we've got Alba Yoga Training Academy, and we have calls with everyone who wants to join our teacher training. And every single time, or the top question we get asked is, I don't know if I'm ready. And I didn't know if I was ready when I did my teacher training, on my first one anyway. And I don't think you ever will feel ready, in a way. We say you have to have at least a year's worth of like a daily consistent practice. But what does being ready mean? Lots of people think being ready is, I can't do crow pose, or I can't do headstand. It doesn't matter. It's not the point. Like, the shapes, they're just not the point. Are you really interested to deepen your practice? Like, lots of people go through the training, actually, they don't want to teach at that point. Maybe they will later, but they just want to understand more about yoga and delve into the anatomy, the philosophy, or whatever it is. So I think you will probably never feel ready, but I would say just make sure you've had that consistent practice, because it's an investment, and you need to make sure that you invest your money in the right place. But yeah, if you love it, then why not?
Yeah, I think so. I think that I was just imagining from a beginner, I would say, the feeling of maybe the person being sort of a leader, and sort of, you almost think, you need to have decades and decades of experience. But it sounds like if it's you probably know if it feels right. Maybe the first time you do it, I would imagine. Do you remember your first time teaching?
Ooh, I did lots of one-on-ones. That's how I started, and just looking at bodies and being like one-on-one with a body and adjusting that way. And then my first ever class, because I lived in London at the time and it's so competitive, I was so lucky. I just got on cancellation lists, and someone was like, oh, I can't come, I can't do my class today, can you cover? So that is the way, if there are any yoga teachers in the room, get on cancellation lists, because that is the way you can sneak into studios.
That's perfect as well, because you don't overthink it.
I know, exactly.
And as a perfectionist, actually, that must have been a bit strange. You must have thought, oh, I'm not completely prepared for this.
Yeah.
Well done for pushing through.
But I think back in my old job, I was always I always got really nervous before I presented or stood up at a meeting or whatever it was. I just never felt that with yoga, because I love it so much. I get nervous sometimes if I'm doing really, really big classes, but as soon as I start talking, I'm usually fine, because I just know I love it. And if someone asked me a question that I didn't know the answer to, I'd just be like, that's an amazing question. I'm going to come back to that.
Perfect.
We don't need to know all the answers to everything. No one knows the answers to everything.
That's it. And we've only got a few more minutes left. So I just wondered, what is next, and what do you hope for from the future?
I am, funnily enough, I'm trying to bring a bit more balance into my life. The last few years, like getting our teacher training up and running, have been so busy. and I felt like I haven't quite got the balance right. So actually I want to take my foot off the pedal a little bit. We've got another teacher training coming up in January. The book obviously is out at the end of the year, and my app is always ongoing and I love it. My community in the app is amazing. But I don't want to, famous last words, I don't want to do anything new for the moment. I just want to enjoy where I am and I appreciate it all. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We're going to leave it there. But I'm sure if you've got any questions, you probably won't mind sticking around for a few minutes and answering anything.
Not.
But I really appreciate it. So Hannah Barrett.
Thank you. And
sharing her story.
I've got a class at 2 if anyone wants to join. I think there are still tickets. So it's in the walled garden and it's very pretty there. So it's very...
Thank you for listening to our Wow Talks podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. And we'd love for you to share your own wisdom on wellness. Join the conversation, share this episode with a friend, or follow us on social media for more updates at Wisdom on Wellness. Until next time.